I'm Lex, and if you're new here, I'm Lex of Lex Go Every Day. What we do here is on Mondays. Today, Lex Talk Fashion. We talk about fashion aesthetics. We talk about how it exists as a feminist statement, as it exists under the goddamn patriarchy, how we deal with that, how we move forward, and pretty much the chaos of the timeline we're living on. And then on Wednesdays, we do a lookbook. So this is going to be the look we are doing. This is my attempt at the dark academia. There's your clue if you didn't check out the YouTube thumbnail. We are doing dark academia aesthetic. And Fridays, we do the lookbook based on the Monday Lex Talk Fashion, the Wednesday Lex Get Glam, and our Friday is the dark academia look. I don't know what to tell you. All right, that's what we're doing. Okay, that's what we've got going on. And then the days in between, because it's Lex Talk Fashion, or I mean Lex Go Every Day, are there will be videos, but they're going to be shorts. Hence, like every day. But like I was doing every day, and I'm like burned out. And then I decided, you know what? Nobody gives a fuck about me. So I stopped doing like my lifestyle shit and I started just focusing on fashion. And that kind of lended itself to the horrors of the timeline that we're living on. And then it became fashion and the patriarchy and feminism. And here we are. Yeah. Anyway, so today is dark academia. And I guess what is dark academia, right? So dark academia is a fashion aesthetic that is based on sort of like an 18th, 19th century romanticized, intelligent, like books and shit, you know? That's like really, that's like so not exactly what it is. But it is based on this time period of like that romanticized, like I said, the 18th and 19th century. You have sort of like almost a Victorian sort of aesthetic. But you also have to remember that during those time periods, like and before, women were not permitted in those spaces. And so, and not to mention, it's sort of a Western elitist sort of aesthetic as well to romanticize specifically, the Oxfords and the Ivy League and this time period when only the outrageously wealthy could be educated, and obviously the most privileged, which were white men. So having women want to be a part or enjoy or appreciate that aesthetic seems counterintuitive. However, I will say, because it is a time period that is specifically so against minorities, be it working class, be it a person of color, be it woman, be it any LGBTQ plus, any of that, obviously not allowed in those spaces. And so I can see how women, feminists, any minority people could be drawn to this aesthetic, not for the elitist imagery, but in visualizing and taking back the narrative of, women and minorities, everyone, women are minorities, everyone belongs in these spaces. So, in a way, women, minorities, the working class romanticizing the dark academia aesthetic is an act of defiance. It is claiming intellectual authority when that is generally, especially during the 18th and 19th century, a masculine thing. Like, it was only for men. And so women are, and minorities are, rejecting that stereotype that intellect is inherently and can only be for men. The other part of this, the performance aspect of it, yes, dark academia can demand that women are intelligent in a palatable, Eurocentric way. However, a feminist engagement with this trend can twist the expectation. So a woman in a tweed blazer smoking a pipe, which is generally a prop used for men and their image of intelligence, right? You think of Sherlock Holmes. But when you have a woman doing this, it is giving that same imagery and telling you that women also belong in that same space, in that same realm, in the same way that, say, a man like Sherlock Holmes is intelligent, so are women. There are the woman version of it, just as intelligent, just as capable. The exciting part of this idea, the trends, the bookish, the studious elements allow women to publicly prioritize their mind over their bodies. And so this is a way of countering the patriarchal demands that women are constantly feminized for prettiness. The fun part of this is that there's also a nostalgia for a time that never included us. And so romanticizing this gives us an opportunity to rewrite our position in those spaces. The paradox that dark academia romanticizes Oxbridge, Ivy League, and all these spaces, which historically excluded women, people of color, minorities, LGBTQ+, obviously. If that was known, obviously, you would be in jail. But I'm just saying, definitely not allowed. And then any working class even, like it's even an elitist sort of space that excluded everyone unless you were the crème de la crème, top of the top, had all the money. By romanticizing and putting yourself in those spaces, you are literally giving a visual that you belong in that space. And so you get to reimagine who is the scholar. The thing about, when I think about the dark academia, when I think about the imagery of that, I actually, if I were to say Disney princess, the first and only Disney princess I think of is Belle, right? She is a Disney princess that loves to read books. Her father's an inventor. She is adventurous, rebellious, falls in love with a beast, And in that time, just like for a woman to be able to read, witch, right? But for me, so whenever somebody was like, oh, I love Belle, like that's their favorite Disney princess. This is going to sound so bad. And this is why I have struggled with, I think, this aesthetic. When somebody romanticizes Belle, like Belle is their Disney princess, like that's the one they go to. To me, it feels like This sounds so bad. But it feels like they're the pick-me girl. Does that make sense? Because, and I say that because um, the way Belle is portrayed, and I'm not saying Belle the princess herself, but the way they portray Belle is that she's just like, she's not like the other girls, you know? She's smart and she's a brunette. She's not like a little blonde bimbo with her bubbies hanging out, and she's studious and she's a loner and different, and her friends are books and shit like that, you know? And so like when people are like, oh, Belle's my character, I was to me that's like, oh, you see yourself as like not like the other girls. Like that sounds so mean. But I'm always wary of people who are like, oh yeah, Belle's my princess. But I mean, who the fuck am I to judge? Because my princess is Ariel. Ariel, you know, like a fucking like not even like human, a mermaid, like half fish. But I will say, like, everyone's like, oh, well, Ariel gave up everything to be with Prince Eric. Bitch, no. She wanted to be a human before she even knew Eric existed. So let's just squash that, okay? Like, sorry. Ariel wasn't about that life after she met Prince Eric. She wanted that life before she knew he existed, okay? She gave up the mermaid life because she thought human life would be super great. What I would give to be under the water right now. But I loved Ariel so much that I did learn to breathe underwater. So I am a bit of a mermaid in that way. So at least we got that going for us. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like if you are attracted to Belle and you're just like, I'm just not like the other girls. Like that's just, there's that elitist, again, like that elitist idea, right? But I'll say, you know, dark academia, in defense of dark academia, I will say that, again, romanticizing it is more about taking the power back for yourself as a woman, belonging in those spaces that were always barring minorities, women, and the working class from even having the opportunity to be a part of. I think the other appreciation for the romanticizing of dark academia is the fact that we are currently living in this like anti-intelligent or anti-intellectualism. And I say that because we're currently in a country that is banning books, that is rewriting and whitewashing history. Our museums and our federal museums and our federal libraries are being shut down. Government websites are being rewritten. Minorities and people of color and women are being taken out of the government websites that give any sort of recognition. Even in the fucking cemetery, in Arlington Cemetery, military, Purple Hearts, men of honor, if you were a minority, a Black person of color, anything that wasn't white or who wasn't white, your name has now been erased from the websites that talked about these men. Only white men are allowed to be on these websites. That is happening right now in this country. And so this anti-intellectual movement, I feel, has made dark academia fashion more appealing, because the idea of having intelligence and taking on a more critical thinking it's just, we have like STEM over humanities and these conspiracy theories. It's just, I feel like dark academia has this celebration of critical thinking, which is very political right now, because there is part of this country that is refusing to think for themselves, think critically, look at facts, and understand what exactly is going on around them. And the things that I have been screaming at the top of my lungs for years now are now starting to affect those people. And now they're like, and only because now they're being affected, now they're starting to be critical, or even considering being critical of, hey, maybe what we voted for wasn't what we thought we were getting, but you did. Like, the reality is, we all knew. The reason why you voted the way you did isn't because you thought that he was going to be good for the country. You didn't even think he was going to be good for you. The reason you voted the way you did is because he justifies the ugliest parts of you. He justifies your bigotry, racism, misogyny. He justifies your hate for anyone that is other, your fear of anyone that is different from you, your homophobia, transphobia. That's why you voted for him. And now we all have to suffer because you fucked around, and now we're all finding out. Except we who did not vote for him are finding out. We already fucking knew what was going to happen. But if you're surprised, you're not. You're just surprised that it's now affecting you. But I told you it was going to affect you. Even if you yelled at me and said, "Why do you care?" It doesn't affect you. It doesn't matter. Why does it have to affect me for me to care about my fellow Americans? For me to care about the people around me, my neighbors, my friends, my people. Why do I have to be directly affected to care? I knew what he was going to do. You knew what he was going to do because he said what he was going to do. And even if you denied that Project 2025 was a part of his plan, I told you it was. I gave you the links. I gave you everything. And you said, well, he said that he didn't know anything about it, except he also said he did. So what is it? I think it's time for some people to look inwards, because this is not affecting just Americans anymore. There are countries that are taking people's rights away right now because he said, we're not going to do any trade agreements if you don't do what I say. You fucked around so much that now other countries have to suffer because of the choices you made. And I'm not just talking about the people who voted for him. I'm talking about the fucking people that sat at home and didn't fucking vote at all. I don't think you know that we are in it. We are in the fascist government. We're living it. Rules, laws do not matter anymore. And every day it gets worse. And so I can understand why people love and romanticize intellectualism, because the moves and the timeline we are currently living on and through and in clearly demonstrate the severe lack of intelligence. Because to be racist, to be bigoted, to be a misogynist, a red pillar, to think that anyone is inferior, below you, anything like that, should not be a part of your circle. To think that way, that is where we went wrong. Because people think that autism is the problem, ADHD, neurodivergent people are the ones who are making the country suffer. No. It's the white supremacists. It's the uneducated. It's the willfully ignorant that put us in the situation we are in today. It is the hate that makes people fearful for living and continuing to live in this country, America, supposed the land of the free. But free for who? Our education is being attacked, dismantled, destroyed. There are states that are afraid they won't have funding for special education. Why? Because people who need special education, apparently, according to this administration, do not deserve to continue their education, and they should just be sent to workhouses, slave labor. They don't need a reason. Not anymore. They'll make one. I can understand why feminists romanticize dark academia. I can understand how feminists can separate the love of learning, intellectualism, with the trend or the aesthetics trappings of elitism. You know, like in the administration, where it's only the elites. Finally, I guess the big question here is, can dark academia, can this aesthetic be salvaged And I think the obvious answer is yes. As long as it embraces radical, disruptive scholarship, citing bell hooks and other incredible theorists and women, as opposed to dead white men. As long as it continues to reject elitist gatekeeping, as long as it continues to reject elitist gatekeeping, you know, the idea that traditional academia is only for the elites, rejecting that, but keeping the love of knowledge. Essentially, dark academia doesn't have to be patriarchal. And I think it draws feminists to it because feminists, and when I say feminists, I'm not just saying women. I'm saying people who believe everyone should be equal and equitable. Feminists are remixing this dark academia, this aesthetic, into something fiercer, more inclusive, and more intellectual. Anyway, I would love to hear your thoughts. Do you see this trend as ultimately restrictive, or is it liberating? And do you like this trend? Is it an aesthetic you can get behind? And yeah, what are your thoughts? Where we are today. Anyway, I hope you have an amazing day. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. If you like this stuff, we're doing it. Until they come to take me away. Just kidding, I won't be here. I'm getting the fuck out. Hopefully. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, so keep fighting the fight. And if you want to know how to do this look, stay tuned for Wednesday. I'm going to show you how to do this. And Friday, we're doing our lookbook for dark academia. Anyway, stay strong, and I'll see you tomorrow. Until next time.